Good morning. Today, because I was gone yesterday, we are going to correct both pages, the one that was due yesterday and the one due today. So we will start with PO67, calculating the area of a parallelogram. So remember, we do the base times the height, remembering that that height is that perpendicular line that makes the right angle. No diagonals. So let's look at our areas. We have 72, 204, and 50. Then we have on the bottom row 30, 15, and 80. Any questions on those? On the bottom for review, we have the perimeter of the rectangle. You had to add up all four sides to get 86. Then it says write a data set with an even amount of numbers that has a median of 10. So if it's an even amount of numbers, you should have two tens in the middle, two numbers on the left that are smaller than 10, two numbers on the right. I did 6. If you did 4 as your even number, you'd have one number on the left, one number on the right, but you should have two tens in the middle. Or you could have had like an 11 and a 9 in the middle. That would give you a median of 10. Something along those lines. Lila?
I had 5 and 5.
In the middle? That does not give you a median of 10. Remember, median is the middle. So if you had 5s in the middle, then that wouldn't be your median. That would be your mode. Okay, median is the middle number. So we want to make sure that middle, I had two tens, just that's the easiest way to know that your middle is 10. You could have had two other numbers where if you add them together and divide by 2, they equal 10. But two 5s, if we add them together, it's 10 divided by 2 is 5. Anyone else wanting to check if their data set works? Emma?
I'm going to do 2, 10, 10, 12.
Yep, because you had two tens in the middle. That works. All right, then it says draw and label vertical angles. So you should have had your X, the top and the bottom would be the same angle, and the two, remember, opposite sides of that vertex would be congruent. So I showed they were congruent with my lines. I had one line congruent with one line, two lines congruent with two lines. If you put degree measurements, your line, the two next to each other, needed to equal 180 degrees. So you could have had, let's say, 80 and 100, right? And then that 100 would be across from the 100, 80 would be across from an 80. But as long as, if you're using degrees, both angle measurements added together on that line should equal 180 degrees. Emma, did you have a question?
I did 140 and then 40.
That works, yep. And then make sure the opposite one is that same degree. And it says draw and label a pair of complementary angles and a pair of supplementary angles. Complementary angles, you add them together, they equal 90. Supplementary, you add them together, they equal 180. So make sure they add to the right number. Any questions on that? All right, let's look at 68. Yesterday's objective while I was gone was triangles and trapezoids. So the area of a triangle is 1/2 the base times the height. Remembering that base is that bottom line. The height goes from the base to the tip of the triangle. It is not a diagonal side, no diagonals. Heights make that perpendicular line. Then the trapezoid, that trapezoid is two different ways we could look at that formula. 1/2 times the base plus the height, so you have to add those together first, then times it by 1/2 or divide it by 2. Then you multiply by that height. Important to remember when you're putting it in your calculator, if you are adding base 1 and base 2, the bottom line and the top line, you have to add and equal it, then divide by 2. Okay, so Calculators will do, perm does. Don't say add and multiply, it'll multiply first. You have to add and equal it, then divide by 2, then multiply by the height. Remembering that height goes from the base to the base, making a perpendicular line. Okay, it should be straight up and down, no diagonals. Cross off the diagonals. We do not need that for area. Only the perimeter. Don't need it for area. Did anybody have any questions on the triangles or trapezoids? Show me with your thumbs how to go watching the video. People were understanding it? All right, let's go over our areas. For the triangles, we have 60, 70, and 24. For the trapezoids, we have 56, 28, and 70. Anyone not sure how I got my area? Remember, asking questions is the way we learn from our mistakes. It is important that you are checking your work and asking when we don't get it right. Adeline. Okay, so what did you add together?
12 and 8.
Okay, so 12 plus 8 is 20. Then what did you do?
I divided it by 2.
Okay, so 20 divided by 2 gives us 10. Then what did you multiply by?
7.
Okay, 10 times 7 is 70. So I'm not sure where you went wrong. Yeah, you got all of the numbers right. I don't know if maybe you put it into your calculator wrong. I'm not sure, because the numbers you wrote were correct. Okay, on the bottom, consider a triangle with a base of 25 and a height of 12, and a trapezoid with base lengths of 8 and 12 and a height of 15. Sketch and label both the figures below, so you should have a triangle that has 25 for its base, and then going up to the point, that perpendicular line is 12. It is important that we know how to draw and label our triangles, our trapezoids. On the test, you will be asked to do this. You will need to make sure that your height is going from the base straight perpendicular up to that tip, not a diagonal side. Every year I have kids labeling a diagonal side as the height. Don't fall for that. Okay? You will, on the test, have to draw shapes and label them with their heights and their bases. Make sure you're doing it correctly. To find the area, that was 1/2 times 25 times 12, which gives us 150. For our trapezoid, you should have 12 on the bottom, 8 on the top. Going straight up and down between the two should be your height of 15, not a diagonal. No diagonals. Do the formula and you get an area of 150. Our question says which one has the greater area and by how much? They are equal. They are the same amount. Adeline.
I got to a triangle, I got that area is 150, and then to the rectangle, I got 900.
Okay, when we're done with this, when we get to our work time, I'm going to have you work with me so I can see what you're putting into your calculator. I think you're putting the numbers into the calculator wrong. And because remember that calculator follows the order of operations. So I think that's where you're going wrong. If you're getting the labels correct and your numbers correct, it has to be how we're putting it in. So we'll figure it out when it's work time. Okay? Any other questions? All right, if you're watching this at home, I hope you are well, and I hope to see you soon. Have a wonderful day.